Hello and welcome to the analysis of the Hindu newspaper dated December 28th, 2022. In this video, we are going to talk about two important newspaper articles, and these articles are going to be very important, very significant for the civil services examination. So do watch this video till the end. And let's start now with the first important newspaper article for the day. Now, this particular newspaper article talks about an exercise, not just an ordinary exercise, it's a delimitation exercise. Now, Election Commission is going to begin the delimitation exercise in Assam, and the base it is using or the census figures it is using is of 2001. Now you would ask, why is this article important? So this article is basically important for the GS paper 2, that is elections and statutory, regulatory and various quasi judicial bodies, because delimitation exercise is carried out by what is known as Delimitation Commission, and Delimitation Commission is set up under the Delimitation Act, which is now basically the Delimitation Commission is basically a statutory body, and that is why it becomes important for the GS paper 2. So let's understand the context of this article first. So the Election Commission on Tuesday said it would begin the delimitation exercise of Assembly and the Lok Sabha constituencies in Assam, and the census figures of the 2001 would be used for the delimitation process. Plain and simple. Now let's understand the background of this particular news. Now, the last delimitation of the constituencies in Assam was done on the census figures of 1971 by the then Delimitation Commission in 1976. So after that, in 2008, delimitation exercise was to be carried out as it was carried out in the other states. But in the case of states of Assam, Nagaland, Manipur and Arunachal Pradesh, it was deferred. It was not carried out because of the security issues. Now, this particular exercise is now being carried out under the Delimitation Act of 2002, right? Delimitation Act of 2002, and the delimitation was deferred in 2008. Now the census figures which we are going to use is of 2001. In the other states, it has already been done. Now this is the background regarding it. Now I have given the background regarding it. Now we have understood the context of this article. Let's now understand what is this delimitation. Delimitation basically is fixing of the boundaries of the states or the territorial constituencies, whatever it is, right? Sorry, not fixing the boundaries of the state, but fixing the boundaries of the territorial constituencies in a country. Constituency is basically what? An area in which the election is carried out, legislative assembly elections are carried out, or the MP elections, that is the parliament elections, are carried out. Now this is basically the constituency, and the delimitation is carried out in these constituencies or territorial constituencies which are used to fight the elections, right? Now why delimitation is carried out? So delimitation is carried out because of three reasons. First one is to provide equal opportunities of equal segments to equal segments of a population. Second reason is that fair division of geographical areas is to be done so that one political party doesn't have an advantage over others in the election. And the third reason why the delimitation is carried out is very simple: to follow the principle of one vote, one value, right? So this is basically the function of delimitation and the reasons why delimitation is carried out. Now let's understand how delimitation is carried out. So basically we have some articles in the constitution which talk about the delimitation. Let's discuss them number by number, right? So under Article 82, the Parliament enacts a delimitation act after every census. For example, in this case, in 2001 census was carried out. So in 2002, Delimitation Act was brought about. Now after the Delimitation Act was brought about in 2002, around 2006, if I'm not wrong, in 2006 the Delimitation Commission was formed, right? 2001 census was carried out. 2002 we had what is known as Delimitation Act which came about, and then in 2006 the Delimitation Commission was formed, and in 2008 delimitation was carried out in all of the other states, but it was deferred in the states of Assam, Nagaland and other northeastern states because of what? Security reasons. Now we also have another article which is Article 170, right? Article 170 talks about the fact that states also get divided into territorial constituencies as per Delimitation Act after every census. And once the act is enforced, the union government sets up a delimitation commission, right? Delimitation commission in this case was formed in 2006. Delimitation was performed in 2008, right? Delimitation was performed in 2008, right? It was deferred and now it is being performed in the northeastern state, right? So now the first delimitation exercise was basically carried out by the president with the help of the election commission in 1950 to 51, and the delimitation act was enacted in 1952. Then delimitation was basically done 4 times, that is in 1952, 1963, 1973 and 2002 under the acts of 1952, 1962, 1972 and 2002, right? So delimitation, sorry, it was not 2006, it's 2002, right? So now Delimitation Commission was formed in 2002 and the delimitation was carried out in 2008, right? Now there was no delimitation after the 1981 and 1991 censuses because of some of the political reasons, right? We need not to get into it, but that's the basic reason of it. Now let's talk about Delimitation Commission, because after every census Delimitation Act comes into being, and under the Delimitation Act Delimitation Commission is formed. So basically the Delimitation Commission is appointed by the President of India and works in collaboration with the Election Commission of India. And if we talk about the composition of it, then it has 3 types of members. First is the retired Supreme Court judge is going to be there. Chief Election Commissioner is going to be there, present Chief Election Commissioner is going to be there, and the respective State Election Commissioner is going to be there. State Election Commissioner of the state where delimitation is going to be held. For example, in this case, Assam is going to have the delimitation, right? So the State Election Commissioner of Assam is going to be concerned authority in this regard. So 3 people are going to be there in this particular case of Assam: retired Supreme Court judge, Chief Election Commissioner and the State Election Commissioner of Assam, right? So this is basically how the Delimitation Commission is composed. Now let's talk about the functions of the Delimitation Commission. So basically Delimitation Commission has 2 functions. First is to determine the number and boundaries of the constituencies to make population of all constituencies nearly equal. And the second is to identify seats reserved for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes wherever their population is relatively large. This is the basic function of, these are 2 basic functions of Delimitation Commission. Now in case of difference of the opinion occurs between the 3 members, that is the retired Supreme Court judge, Chief Election Commissioner and the respective State Election Commissioner, then in that case the opinion of the majority prevails. And the Delimitation Commission in India is a high power body whose orders have the force of power, and the decisions of it cannot be called in question before any court. This is the power of the Delimitation Commission. Now let's talk about the problems with the delimitation, because delimitation no doubt solves the problems. It adjusts the boundaries of the territory of the constituencies, but it comes with various problems. So first problem is that the states that take little interest in the population control could end up with greater number of seats in the parliament, because the delimitation is carried out according to the population. Now in southern states have taken action against, or they have promoted what is known as 2-child policies or something like that. Now these states must be incentivized for doing so, because they are not producing that kind of population that the other states are producing. But they will face a problem, because in this case what will happen? Due to the family planning, they will have smaller population. Smaller population means smaller seats, less number of seats, less numbers of seats. And if you are having less number of seats, then the power dynamic shifts to the states which are having the high population, which had basically nothing to do with the family planning. So this disincentivizes the southern states which have promoted family planning. Now in 2008, delimitation was done based on 2001 census, but the total number of seats in the assemblies and the parliament decided as per the 1971 census was not changed. So this was basically done in order to calm down the southern states. Now southern states talked about the fact that कि हमें नहीं चाहिए states, ठीक है, we want that kind of seats, but this wasn't available, or they had lesser population, and they did not wanted the seats to shift. So this basically happened in the 1971 census, when according to the population, the seats were not determined in the assemblies, right? And the constitution has also kept the number of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha seats to a maximum of 550 and 250 respectively, and increasing populations are being represented by a single representative, right? This is also basically a problem. Now what can be the way forward in this regard? So first thing is that a national consensus exercise should be started to sort out issues much before the 2026. This needs to be done. Now the second way forward can be the weightage given by the finance commission to population can be reduced to 10% or even 5%, so that the states which are very good in family planning, or which have promoted good family planning, which have promoted small families, they need to be incentivized in this regard. They need not to be disincentivized in this regard, right? So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article. We have talked about Delimitation Commission. We have talked about delimitation, how delimitation is carried out, and why delimitation is carried out. And we have also talked about the case of Assam in this regard, and why delimitation is now happening after a long time of 14 years, right? So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article. Let's now head to the next important newspaper article. Now this particular newspaper article talks about what is known as green hydrogen and how it may receive $2 billion incentives, right? And this article becomes important for the GS paper 3, that is infrastructure energy sector in particular, right? Because it talks about green hydrogen, which serves as a fuel. So India is basically planning a $2 billion incentive program for the green hydrogen industry. Three sources told Reuters, and in a bid to cut emissions and become a major export player. Now the $180 billion rupees incentive aims to reduce or $2.2 billion incentive aims to reduce the production cost of the green hydrogen by a fifth over the next 5 years, and that is why basically the incentives are being given, and the aid could be announced in the February 1 budget for the year beginning April 1, said the government official, right? So this is basically the context of this particular newspaper article. Incentive is going to be given, but we need to understand what is green hydrogen. But before that, we need to understand what hydrogen is. So hydrogen is basically the most abundant, or one of the most abundant elements on the earth for cleaner alternative fuel option, because you can basically separate the water and you can get a hydrogen out of it, or it is basically present in the atmosphere in abundance. Now basically there are various types of hydrogen, and it depends upon the process of its formation. So the first one is the green hydrogen. There are 4 types of hydrogen, right? Green hydrogen, brown hydrogen, gray hydrogen, blue hydrogen, and their categorization has been done on the basis of how it is formed. So first let's discuss about the green hydrogen, which we are so interested about. Now green hydrogen is basically produced by the electrolysis of water using renewable energy like solar, wind, and has a low carbon footprint. So basically in this case, the electricity splits water into hydrogen and oxygen. So we know that water is basically H2O. H2 represents the hydrogen, O represents the oxygen. When you pass the electricity through water, it separates and you get what is known as hydrogen and oxygen, and the hydrogen which is basically produced through it is known as green hydrogen. Now hydrogen can also be formed from or can be produced using the coal, where the emissions are released to the air. This kind of hydrogen is known as brown hydrogen. And there is also gray hydrogen, which is basically produced from the natural gas, where the associated emissions are released to the air. And then we also have blue hydrogen, which is produced from the natural gas, where the emissions are captured using carbon capture and the storage. Now these are the basically 4 types of hydrogen. What we are more interested in is in the green hydrogen, and for this basically the incentives of $2.2 billion are being provided, right? So now what are the benefits of using green hydrogen for India? So green hydrogen can drive India's transition to clean energy, combat climate change, and under the Paris Climate Agreement, India pledged to reduce the carbon intensity of its emissions by 33 to 35% from 2005 levels by 2030, right? So it will help in this aim, and it will basically also reduce import dependency on fossil fuels. And the third benefit of it is that the localization of electrolyzer production and the development of green hydrogen projects can create a new green technologies market in India worth 18 to 20 billion dollars and thousands of jobs, which is basically a boom to the economy. So these are some of the benefits of using green hydrogen, but it's not very easy to extract the green hydrogen, and above it there are various costs involved. First is the economic sustainability of it. So the first challenge regarding the production of the green hydrogen is economic sustainability, and that is why the incentives are being provided. But one of the biggest challenges faced by the industry for using hydrogen commercially is the economic sustainability of extracting green hydrogen. So for transportation of fuel cells, hydrogen must be cost competitive with the conventional fuels and technologies on a per mile basis, and that is how the green hydrogen can be used. Now basically the high cost and the lack of the supporting infrastructure is also a big problem. Fuel cells which convert hydrogen fuel to usable energy for cars are still expensive, and the hydrogen station infrastructure needed to refuel hydrogen fuel cell cars is still widely underdeveloped. And apart from it, we need to set a national target for the green hydrogen and electrolyzer capacity. This is also basically a headache. And apart from it, we need to also implement the complementary solutions that create virtuous cycles. For example, hydrogen infrastructure can be set up for refueling, heating, and generating electricity at the airports. Now this is basically the way forward in which we can by which we can better the chances of producing the green hydrogen. So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article, and this is it. This is it for the day. Thank you from my side. Do like and share the video and subscribe to this channel. Have a good day. Bye.